Welcome back everyone to Brick System Brothers. What I've got right here is Patriot Hill without one of the roof sections. I've talked about this in a video a couple years ago, and it's definitely something I'd like to bring up on the channel again, but there's a few things I want to change before I do that. So instead of talking about that today, I'm going to talk about a rather sad looking pile of pieces beside it up here, before I get it broken down all the way and cleared off to make room for Patriot Hill up here on top of the entertainment furniture. So out with the old and with the kind of newer, and that's the reason I have this here right now, is because this is kind of will be on display. And it's not that it's taking the place of the train station, but this is just where the train station has been, and it's time for it to move. So I figured before it goes away forever, I did want to talk a little bit about it on the channel. So not too long ago, it was in a much better state of affairs, and it looked like an actual building. And I do want to go back and look at some of the pictures that I have from while it was in my city, very similar to how I did the Market Street video when I talked about modifying that building through the years. And then another thing I'm working on right now is building that back. But the train station was never an official set. It was just something that I had put together, much like Patriot Hill here. And therefore, once it is gone, I will probably build another train station in the future, but I don't think it will be patterned directly after this one. It'll probably be just a development kind of in a different direction. So the first thing I'm going to try to do is lay this out in its various pieces as close as possible to how it would have been, even though it won't be built all the way back, because there's quite a few pieces that are just completely off already. So let's see how close I can get with that. Well, that wasn't too bad. It was, disassembled in larger sections, so I was able to kind of fit those back together and get back to most of the original building as it would have been when I dismantled my city last year. So the Brickwell station is what I decided to name it. Once you kind of step back and look at it in a general sense, it is kind of a modular building, but it also is not much of a modular building. So in terms of modularity, like how it would fit in with the modular system, it's really just this side is built to fit on half of the width of a base plate, and so it could accommodate a building like the Market Street or the townhouse or the bookshop that is that half width. The downside is you'd have to build it directly onto this base plate, even though I did include the pins. Just the way that it's laid out on these road plates, which this is a retired system now, I think, because they don't have a half road plate, it's not possible to build this at the end of a street section, just the way that the corner lays out here with the rest of the station. Again, being in my plywood city layout, this had a very specific orientation. You know, the tracks were kind of in one location, and it wasn't very flexible just in terms of what I could do with the layout because of the way that I was making access holes through the plywood. If you want to see more of this original city layout, there are a couple videos back on the channel, but as of right now, I don't have this plywood layout up. That's why I'm reviewing this building as it stands by itself. So looking at where the tracks come through now doesn't necessarily seem to make a lot of sense, but if you go back and check out how my city used to look, you'd be able to see it in context a little better. I just wanted to briefly mention how I had these level crossings built up. It's kind of like a little sub-assembly of tiles and plates, and then there were some that go across in the middle. And I talked about this again in the hue tap for this piece, the 6x8 slope, and this is what I was using to get this level crossing built up on both sides. I had 3 of these slopes on each side of the tracks, and that gave it a really nice low profile, direct coverage. Even though the tracks are sitting right on top of these vacuum formed plates, you're still able to get most vehicles across. Ideally, when you're building a road surface with, from just pieces from scratch, the top of these tiles would be the even level surface of your entire road, but that doesn't really fit in with this preformed road system, which is what I used for the most part in the city. Alright, so back to the train station itself. We'll go overhead a little bit and just look at maybe a little bit of a footprint. The main section is over here on this side of the tracks, and it also fits into a corner. Now in my city, this was just a curve, one of those curve pieces, road plates, and then there's kind of an edge on the plywood, but it could very well fit into an intersection like I have it laid out here. So this would be one face of the building, and this would be the other face of the building. I think I would consider this to be the front of the station. We have the nameplate, the actual track opening, and the more decorated of the entryways. But over here is also pretty nice. It's got some pillars and the double swinging doors. I think one of these doors I'm going to have to steal for Market Street. So we'll get back to this top floor in a moment, but let's just look at the main floor for now. It is built up with 2x2 bricks, black and green, to make this tiled floor, and both of the places that you come in have a little accent with white bricks. And then as you come in this side, you are immediately confronted with the ticket office, which is mostly torn out right now, but at one point this was a desk going across, and there'd be a person back there to sell tickets or answer questions about the train line. If you come in from these doors, you kind of have this waiting area. There's built-in benches, the timetable with departure times, and a little book stand, some lights here. And I built this to hold the 2x2 printed tiles for newspapers and such like that. So actually a lot of floor room in here. Definitely could have put in more of these bench fixtures. I think that would help fill that space in a little bit. Definitely put something over here in this corner to just help fill up that floor. Of course, a bunch of minifigures to be arriving and departing would look pretty good as well. So once you buy your tickets, or once you've been waiting around for a bit and your train comes in, you go right up the stairs onto the platform. And the platform is immediately trackside. Don't cross over the little little ridge. You will fall on the tracks. There is another bench up here, and there's a little spot for a suitcase. It's holding a book right now. But if you're not going to be waiting for your train, then you continue on past up these stairs. And that's where this second floor comes in. Put this back on. Okay, something like that. So once you go up those stairs, there's a little hallway, and you've got some picture windows that overlook the tracks, and you can kind of see directly down into down to the tracks, look at which trains are arriving and departing. Or on the other side of the hallway, we have some guest rooms, possibly like a hotel that's running up here, kind of built in with the train station. So there's 3 kind of suites up top. If you continue all the way down the hallway and turn the corner, it's starting to really get boxed in now because this was the part I had built up the most. If you go all the way back into the corner, there is a little bathroom, toilet, or you can go up the stairs, around a little jog, and then up some more stairs, and actually cross over the tracks to get to the cargo terminal side of this Brickwell station. So, much less decorated over here, just kind of 2 simple floors. Again, this one getting up to boarding level. Once you have these big train wheels that get the platform of the trains up about 3 bricks high. so I had to build this up to the point where you could comfortably step onto the train. And that does have complete access down with a staircase, and I also left this open on the back. I even built in a little stoplight. I forgot about that. Stoplight for the trains, to, you know, have safety on the line. So that's built right into the building here. Otherwise, it's just a couple plates up on 3 bricks, and then a couple steps down to get back to street level out that door right there. And that's on the other side of the street, or of the tracks, same street. So a couple skylights in over here, and then this was going to kind of be the top for this side. But I had a lot more plans to continue this side of Brickwell Station up. And the furthest that got was the addition of the clock tower. So the clock tower might look familiar if you've been around the channel long enough. This is what I used for my hinge tutorial on Digital Designer, and I've also used this as a tutorial to generate a parts list. So this tower is actually something I built in that software, in that program, in order to determine which plates I would need to order from Pick-a-Brick online back in the day. Before I knew about bricks and pieces, it was something I didn't have enough plates for at the time. I attached it with these 1x2 hinge bricks and plates, just built up on a little stair step, and then that goes right onto that ridge. And 4 sides make the peak for that. So not really fancy. The gaps don't close perfectly. If I were to redo it today, I would try to use the double convex 75-degree slopes. Like I said, I probably won't be going too much further with this specific building, although I do like the general layout of how it goes over the tracks and is built onto a street corner. So if I build a train station again in the future, it will probably include a lot of similarities, and it might even have the same color scheme, but I don't think I'm going to continue to use this building as a project base. I think it's had a good run. It's been a fixture in the city for a long time, and that brings me to its eventual demise. There's an entire wall missing over here, many sections just kind of broken apart. It looks like something came in here in like one of those Lego video games and blew it up, Indiana Jones or something. A bunch of sections missing here. What happened with that is I was at a point of going through my collection and finding pieces that needed cleaning up. A lot of the white and light gray pieces I have yellowed over time, and so I was trying to collect everything at once and do a treatment with hydrogen peroxide, and try to do everything at once and then fill this back in. The train station was a victim of this process. I was going through the city, taking out pieces that were more yellow that I wanted to do this treatment to, and I had them all collected in a bag. I don't remember if it was this bag or a different one, or if I had them all together somewhere, but I took all these pieces out and never did the cleaning. So over time, it was just more and more pieces started going to other projects. It sat without a roof like this for a while, and I can't say it really bothered me because everything in my city was in various stages of completion all the time, so it's not like I was always striving to have a 100% completed city for display, which is probably why it never got finished. This picture was taken on the day of reckoning when I began to dismantle all the layout, tracks, buildings, and everything. So this would have been probably the most complete I had the city, with modulars here, with the streets cleaned off, and the station is right here. So taking up probably 2 times the area that the other buildings, individual buildings, would be. So your standard modular size is a little more than half of a base plate. You could be generous and give the bank a full base plate of area. the station has 3/4 of a base plate over here and another quarter worth over here probably. So maybe it's comparable to the brick bank, but that footprint, once you get over the tracks, if you're including the tracks behind the platform here, a pretty large footprint compared to most of the other buildings, especially these little 16 by 16 square buildings. So it did have a very specific place in the layout where things were just coming together to make it work out really well. Like I said, with the access hole cut right here, that was specifically designed for 3 loops of track to fit around behind the corner. And then as 2 of those come around, they feed directly into the station boarding area, and then those cross one of the streets running this way, and then the other street has the T intersection and runs parallel to those 2 tracks. Eventually they join back up, but there is one that makes an outer loop as well. So just kind of positioned in the right spot for this to work out, and built that way intentionally as well. So this is what it looked like with most of the other buildings. I am going to jump back a couple years. It doesn't look a whole lot different, but at one point we had these level crossing bars in place. So that was fun when those were there. I didn't have as many of the 6x8 slopes, so I only had 2 of those to work with on each side. But I like this picture because it has a street level view, almost as if what you would see as a minifigure walking through my city along the street across from the train station here. So just the little details like the light above this door, the way that you kind of see up into from the bottom of the overpass there and all the way across onto the platform. Things that you don't really see at an upper angle, which is what you usually would be looking at from above the table. So I do like this angle, kind of looking at it from a minifigure perspective of the train station. And here's another one from the track perspective. So as if you were driving a train, probably not exactly because you'd be centered on either one of these here, but it's right in the middle. But still kind of the general impression of arriving into the receiving area of the station. Definitely more substantial, built up on this side with the clock tower being the tall point, and then still the continued stripe that does reach across on both levels. It's very obviously the same building on both sides of the track. And just one more with some people in here, some citizens. I guess this would have been about the same time as the first picture, but just zoom in here and take a look. Yeah, you can already see pieces were starting to go missing. The clock tower is actually built on a 5x5 main section, and then that's attached to the tubes of a 6x6 plate right here. So that's kind of fun bit of geometry, where I was just able to work in some odd number widths. You don't always get to do that. It doesn't always work out. A variety of windows as well, the arch windows here, some large picture windows, and then using some of those smaller old style up here mixed in with the modern 1x2x2 windows there. Everything just felt coherent to me as I built it up. So yeah, it's a really fun building to have and that I built for a while, and I just think, it does so much to see it in context with the rest of the buildings in the city, the way that the tracks kind of loop around and the roads continue on either side. So I did want to get a few of these pictures into this video just to give you guys an idea. If you haven't seen my city tours before, because it's in those as well, but we put those out quite a while ago, and there wasn't as much of an opportunity to focus on these individual buildings like I'm doing now for this train station, and I've also done for the modified Market Street around the corner. There's a couple more here. Blue Night Inn, Yellow Academy. So a lot of other buildings to talk about, but we'll do those another day. So there are a few more things I want to talk about before I wrap it up, and that was some of the structural decisions, specifically related to where the trains come in and interact with the building itself. So first thing would be the height of this arch. Standard height train cars, and it is, you know, there's a lot of extra clearance there. This bridge definitely could be much closer to the roof of these and everything would work fine. But the tallest train car I actually have that would be running here is the Mile Train caboose. So this is the one that I wanted to be sure was going to fit through the station, and it just barely goes under these preformed stair elements. And I decided to make that work on both sides. I think I have my tracks shifted over by one. Yeah, these should both be over one more stud. So once those are shifted to the correct position, the caboose clears just enough headroom, and I built that so that the caboose could be on either track and it would interact just fine with the station. But for the most part, the passenger train, I think this is a 2016 or 2018, somewhere in there, right about the time that I had the station in its heyday. Josh and I picked up this passenger train set, and this was kind of the main train that serviced the station. So I built the platform to be the correct height to, you know, minifigure scale would board the train. These trains actually didn't come with any doors in terms of getting in from a platform. You just take off the roof here and fill up the coaches from the top. But since I have this platform and went through all the trouble to make it at this scale, I did go ahead and modify this train car and its twin to have opening doors. And they're a little sticky sometimes. There we go. So it's just a little brick hinge down here, and if you get that at the right angle, you can pop that open. It's pretty small. The minifigure would have to do gymnastics to get in, but when it's open, it's at the correct height for the platform. Everything is in scale and system. Just kind of fun to have that working feature added in to the train station. So that is Brickwell Station. It had a long life in my city, and I think it's time to end now. It's already started the stages of decay. The natural process of Lego is to be broken down and built into something new. So that's the way it will go. I have many pictures, and some of this, you know, sections of this build have even been done digitally. So there's a bit of an archive here. I'm sure I will be doing something in the future related to train stations. I do enjoy Lego trains, but I think Brickwell Station is at its end. So thanks for watching today, guys. Just talking about probably one of the most elaborate buildings I did from scratch in the city. I think it's definitely the largest in terms of footprint, and it did make it pretty far before it started dropping off. So drop some questions down in the comments. Let me know what else you want to see. If you saw something from the city while we were looking at those pictures. I think I have most of those buildings intact yet. I'll probably be doing the same thing to those down the road, but at the moment they are available for a video review. Otherwise, stick around. Lots more stuff coming here on Brick System Brothers.